What's up, everyone? Welcome back, Hawks from Room podcast, hosted by yours truly, David Lee, aka D Lee for three. For anyone who watched the game or was checking the box score, you probably were like, what's going on? Why is it different on the broadcast versus the apps? I'm not sure what happened. Bob kept talking throughout the broadcast that they didn't have any stats in front of them. Something was up with the tracking because now, if you check the box score, it says Trae Young played 42 minutes. It says that Jalen Johnson played 40. So I can't. Outside of some of the bench guys, I really don't feel like most of these minutes are accurate. I'm not even sure how many of these statistics are accurate because the FanDuel broadcast had Onyeka with 16 points. NBA has him with 11. I'm going to go ahead and side with what was tracked in the stadium. But just so you know, if you look at certain apps, it may be off. Lots to talk about. But before we get into the film, because I do have a lot of it, I want to say I was recently giving some advice to try and be more of an analyst when I talk about the Hawks. And it's not to say that, or just in general, like with basketball, like present myself as an analyst and not a fan. And it sort of shifted my mentality. And I knew it really had hit when I was watching the preseason games. And I was like, I didn't feel any delusional takeaways. I didn't feel like, oh, and I feel like preseason is the time for that, right? Like you start to tell yourself, oh, this guy's going to make this leap. This guy's going to do this. We're going to be great, whatever it may be. And it's not that the Hawks didn't look great. They look great. There's a lot of different things that we can talk about. But I think I've kind of just been permanently measured now. And I think that's better for myself. It's better for everyone who taps in with my content because I want y'all to be informed and I don't want to, sell you a dream or be overly optimistic when I know the reality, right? Like in a lot of ways, my worst takes or my worst examples of analysis have been tainted by my fandom, right? But so hopefully that'll be helpful for you all because I'll be a little bit more realistic and rational. Well, I feel like I was kind of there, but I definitely want to be even better. So we're gonna go in chronological order up until we get to the possessions where Nickeil and Dyson their standout defensive possessions because I really want to group those together so I can just make an overall point about how impactful it is to have those two guys on the same team. Please bear with me for the first three clips. I promise the quality will be better after that. I could not find my usual site, so we had to, default and go to something that was much, much worse. But this is the opening possession, and the Hawks in general, their first couple possessions were a bit stagnant, which was strange to see, right? So here, this is technically horns where you have two bigs at the top of the key. They're going to run Dyson over these two screens. And this is really to get KP into the post, right? So Jalen's coming off for this potential curl, but he's really just here to draw the attention away from KP. And as Jalen clears out, then you've got Zach coming back up for this pin down, see if that's open. And with that not being open, and Tari Eason, if you can tell from all those pixels, jumps out on it. Now it's okay, let's get the KP in the post. And so KP posts up. He's going to face up. He's got Jabari Smith on him. The Hawks are going to try and give him space. So here Zach flattens out, so it's harder for Tari to dig. And KP gets to a shot, which is makeable for him, ends up missing it. Next clip. It's weird to see the Hawks attack mismatches. Not to say that they didn't try to do that, but it's strange because that wasn't a huge part of our game last year, right? Like we didn't have the talent to do so or the advantages to do so. And in this game, when Reed Shepherd was on the floor, we saw the Hawks kind of do that from time to time, which was, again, kind of like a little crazy. Why is it doing this? Hold on one second, y'all. Here it is. So they're going to, again, very similar to what we were just talking about with KP. I like the idea of using Zach as sort of like a motion shooter to at least draw a little bit of the defensive attention and then try to get Dyson switched onto Reed, and then Dyson went to attack Reed. And again, look at the spacing, they're going to overload this side, give him this whole side of the floor to work with. Trey's going to stay spaced very far. Again, that's some of the latent spacing of being a deep 3-point shooter. And then Dyson's just going to back him down and end up drawing the foul. We also got yes, right here. So when we watch Jalen Johnson play one-on-one defense here, I want to call out how aggressive Atlanta was in terms of helping. So here you've got a face up, and you see KP is gonna willingly help off of Jabari Smith Jr. here in the corner. It's something the Hawks did all night. It's something they're going to continue to probably do against teams like Houston that struggle a little bit to shoot the ball. Then we had some Jalen stuff. Let's see, where do we want to go? This is a possession from Zach where I felt like in Eurobasket he was a lot better at using his height. But on this possession, as soon as the men sees Dyson try to take this away, which he still almost did it, you're going to notice that KP kind of unnecessarily recovers back out to Şengün. Like Şengün shot the ball really well in this game, and I do think he's taken a big improvement as a shooter. But I would have liked to see KP be a little bit more alert for this potential backcut here, just because Dyson is overplaying this so much, right? And so when this does happen, this ball gets entered, I like that Zach is in position. Like, I like that he's here. But he's either too worried about making a foul or getting a foul, but, like, he just doesn't do anything, right? Like, if you're going to be here, wall up, go vertical, swipe down the ball, do something. He just kind of moves out the way. He has his left hand on it, but it's not strong enough. KP ends up forcing this miss by making a man double clutch. But because Zach helped, didn't do anything, and then didn't get back to the ball and left his man wide open, it's a putback done. Let's see. Next thing. I thought this was pretty inventive from Trae Young. So typically we see, obviously Trae throws a lot of alley-oops, but we don't always see him do it to his guards, right? So this is early offense for the Hawks. Trae's orchestrating here, so he's saying, okay, I want KP on this side. Dyson relocated in the dunker. He's going to call Dyson up. So again, same thing. You're going to have Zach run off this screen to try and engage the defense. But the real action is going to be coming with Dyson coming up to set the screen. And the reason why they do that is because it's going to force Alper Şengün to come out to help. So when Zach pitches it back up, now Şengün has a lot of space to cover. Because when that screen comes onto Tari Eason, now Şengün has to step up. They're going to put 2 on the ball. And as soon as there's 2 on the ball and you take their primary rim protector out the paint, there's now a runway here, right? But what's interesting is this isn't Jalen. This isn't Nickeil Kongu. It isn't someone that they would have usually throw a lob to. But Trae throws a lob. And you could tell it catches Houston off guard because Jabari Smith is a great rim protector. He's great at recognizing things like this. He didn't even think that this is something Trae would do. And Dyson goes to get it. It doesn't look as good, if Nickeil was dunking it, but it ended up working. I thought that was pretty interesting. We also got some nice passing moments, especially with Nickeil and Luke on the floor. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we look at the second quarter stuff. But the big benefit of playing with guys like Nickeil and Luke is that they're connective passes, right? Connective passes is a big buzzword in the NBA right now. It's something I've been talking about since 2024, 2023. But this is what it looks like in action, right? So at the end of the quarter, we also mentioned a little bit how the Hawks may try to fill corners on these pick and rolls and then try to, flatten out the defense this way. When this pick comes from Onyeka and Houston puts 2 on the ball, instead of Trae having to dribble around them or try to split them with a pass, if he doesn't have to go this way, he can immediately throw it to Nickeil. And what this does is it allows Onyeka to go into space unimpeded and really maroon these 2 guys because the ball can move faster than they can run. It doesn't matter. In every sport, the ball is faster than you can run. And so it makes this an easy play for the Hawks to execute because Nickeil is going to make this decision so quickly. He knows that the advantage is now here. He's going to throw Onyeka open here. When this happens, now you're going to draw the attention of these 2 guys. And here, that's Luke Kennard in the corner. Luke Kennard, he doesn't miss open threes. All right, he just doesn't. Okogie cannot step up to stop Onyeka. He just can't. He cannot leave him. Onyeka is good enough to make that pass. As soon as he sees Şengün steps up, he knows the pass is here. It's very simple but very effective basketball. A nice cut by KP. He could have stayed in the corner too, but a nice cut and then finishes with a reverse. This is peak. This is great basketball. It's a big reason why I feel like the Luke Trae minutes, especially with the front court, the double bigs, could be our best offensive lineup, and that's going to be a really big off. It's going to be a huge asset for the Hawks because usually if you're going to play a guy like Trae and Luke together, you can't really survive defensively. But with Nickeil's disruptiveness and then the 2 bigs, they might be able to get away with it for a couple of minutes, and they'll be really good. Dyson's offense, big highlight for me. The driving was great. He was a willing screener all night. So here he's going to attack Şengün. Şengün, by the way, has been really good defensively, Eurobasket as of late. But what you're going to see here is that Dyson's going to immediately attack this lead foot. So because Şengün is not square, his body's pointing this way. So Dyson's going to attack this way, if that makes sense, right? And now when Şengün tries to recover, he overcorrects. He opens his chest back up. So now he's completely going the other direction. Dyson reads that. He's going to gather. Go, like there's like predetermined driving, and then there's reacting to the defense, but then there's also like you don't want to react to how a defender's playing you. You don't want to predetermine it, but you want to be fluid. And so Dyson knew he was going to drive this, but he changes his path based on how Şengün was defending him, and then he's able to guard or draw the help and kick it out to Zach for an open three. One of many great drives from him. Here's another good one against Şengün again. This is important because bigs are going to sometimes try to roam off of Dyson. They're going to try and, roam off some of the other guys and then close out lethargically on Dyson. So his ability to – so here he's going to pump fake first. Then he's going to jab first. The brush tool cover that. He's going to jab and then pump fake when he has Şengün in the air. Nice gather. If KP does a little bit more, maybe he's able to engage Jabari Smith a little bit. But while Dyson ends up missing this, very, very nice drive. This was earlier in the game. We saw a successful Spain pick and roll with Luke Kennard. This one was a fail with Zach running it as the back screener. So it's a solid out of bounds play. What I think is a little bit rough about this is like neither Zach or Porzingis are super willing or like physical screeners, right? So KP really isn't trying to make contact with Tari here. He doesn't create much separation for Trey. And then Zach isn't back screening a man, so it's just kind of like, oh, well, we just sort of stood that way. You know what I mean? Then here comes Dyson to set an actual screen. And then it ends up being out of bounds here on Trey. I believe they didn't get the ball in. And this is a big thing for Boston. Like baseline out of bound, they're going to KP because he could shoot at any point. He could shoot over anyone. So he's a great option there. And Hawks got 2 points there very easily. Let's take a look at some transition stuff with Jalen Johnson. He was awesome in transition per usual. He's handling here on the rebound. He's going to just gather, move Reed Shepherd out the way. Yeah, really good to see him embrace physicality. Then this one, yeah, this is big time. So, again, remember what I mentioned. The Hawks are extremely willing to shrink the floor against Houston. They've got 4 guys within 3 feet of Amen Thompson on this drive here, right? Like Steven Adams isn't the threat here. They don't have to – the strong side corner is covered, and then Jalen is fully capable of recovering to either of these 2 guys. And that's why the Hawks are willing to help so aggressively because they can easily get out of here. Now, this is an amazing pass from Amen. Like, he actually no-looks this. He's looking at Jabari Smith here, and he gets it to Josh Okogie. But Jalen he's already turned his head by the time he lands. So it almost looks like he's skipped in place. Like, this is, like, biomechanically pretty interesting, right? So he lands on that right foot. And instead of gathering, like turning and then stepping, as he's turning, he's stepping. And so he lands on just that right foot and then steps his left foot out. And so he covers up that ground very quickly. Then he hops, and then he's able to get the hand on the ball, and then he takes off. And so, look, this is Dyson, his eyes are up. Okogie's still figuring out how the hell he got blocked. And it doesn't matter because guess who's out and running? You see he's already in front of 3 Rockets here. And now Jalen's in the open court, which is a massive issue for the defense. Now, physicality is a big thing with Jalen, especially with the shoulder thing. The fact that he's been rehabbing all summer, he hasn't had the time, or in general, he tends to fade from contact. So let me give y'all this in full motion, right? So he's gonna just run over Amen Thompson. Now it's a chicken wing there. I wouldn't be surprised if some refs would have called this an offensive foul. It probably was a little bit rough to see it definitely from this ref's position. I'm not sure what he saw. Technically, you can arm bar people, you just can't extend. It looks like Amen here, he's stepping into him and trying to strip him with his left hand. And then there's contact there, and Jalen goes like this. So could go either way. I don't really care about the call. What I care about is Jalen's approach to the physicality, the fact that he was able to recover so quickly to the 3-point line, and he took that ball and he took it directly to the hole. Like that's what means a lot more to me, if I'm gonna be honest. Now it's time to talk about some defense, man. Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Dyson Daniels are going to make life hell for anyone on the perimeter. I want to talk about his first forced turnover as a Hawk. So this one, I think it's this one. Yeah. So basically, he checked in about 6 minutes to go in the first half, and we got pretty quickly a glimpse at how special he can be for the Hawks. So this is a pitch for Reed. He's going to run off of this handoff from Steven Adams pretty deep in the paint. So because he's so low on the floor, Onyeka has to step up, and Onyeka isn't in position to get to this ball. But Nickeil already knows what's going to happen. And look how quickly his hands get there. He's able to knock it, and then it bounces around Steven Adams' feet, goes out of bounds. Then on this possession, because I think this was maybe a cross match situation. I don't exactly remember, but Steven Adams is trying to get this entry pass to Jabari Smith Jr. Hawks again aggressively helping, but look at the pressure from Nickeil. He's not standing here passively. Look how hard he competes. He ends up taking the ball from Steven Adams and then drawing a take foul. That's really, really cool. Then I've talked a lot about how much Dyson can plug the gap. Like that's one of his superpowers. Like he just instinctively figures out where the defensive weaknesses are, and then he just steps into it, right? Nickeil has that same exact ability. So here, he's going to get around that screen. Reed Shepard's going to try to go backdoor. He redirects his momentum. He's ready for any sort of pass there. And then as the ball gets entered to Şengün, Jabari Smith comes off this handoff, and then he's going to shoot this three. Wait, bro. Sorry. That is definitely the wrong clip. Is it this one? Yeah, it should be this one. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, this is definitely it. So, get around the screen, get hung up a little bit, but recover back to Alper Şengün. So, he stands up any sort of immediate advantage here. If he was able to get his head around, it would have been a steal. Get back out to Aaron Holiday, break down. Now he's killed the possession. Follow him up the floor, negate the screen advantage, stick with him, and then great contest at the end of the shot clock. We look at the second quarter stuff. It was some other great stuff here. The potential with Nickeil and Dyson defensively is going to be really, really cool, man. Like it's one of those things that I think will really make the Hawks super dynamic defensively. So Dyson's on the ball against Reed. Reed goes backdoor. All right, cover that up. Now here comes. Watch how seamless this is, right? To Trey's credit, he's paying attention. He says, "Hey, when a man starts walking down to the dunker, I don't want to keep checking him there. That's a disadvantage for me." Nickeil pick him up. Nickeil's like, "Okay, cool, I got you." Now Trey's gonna go with Okogie, who's lifting up. When the ball gets swung to Reed Shepherd here, Reed gets a bit of a step on Dyson, and it's like this. Nickeil steps in to cut off the drive, and now Dyson's back on him and Thompson. And it forces a turnover. Because Nickeil was ready and he was in position to cut off his drive. Reed is going away from the basket. He has lost any sort of advantage. He's in danger of traveling, and he throws that out. And then you see Nickeil talk to Dyson and say, "Hey, I got you." That's really cool to see. Other thing, I think the other possession is here. So I was just looking at anything during the game. But this is a great example of the ability to read the floor and understand what's going to happen before anyone else happens. Like Şengün doesn't even know what's about to happen. He has a ball in his hands. This is either going to be a drive from Şengün because of the way that Men Thompson is positioned, or they're going to try and enter it over the top to Men Thompson. Dyson, you look at him. He's pointing it out. He said, "Hey, someone help Trey out." Jalen's kind of in his own world. So Dyson's like, "Okay, I'll do it." And before Jalen can react, Dyson's already there. And he forces a miss. Hawks have the rebound after the Steven Adams attempted save. Like this is the type of stuff that legitimately saves 2 points. This is 2 points or foul. And it's because he recognizes the floor. He recognizes what's about to happen. He points it out to a teammate. Teammate doesn't pick up on it. Okay, I got it. Don't worry about it. And the Hawks now have two guys who can do that because, as we saw with some of the Nickeil stuff, he has that same ability. I think there's one more example. Yes, I believe this is it. So the Hawks are going to shrink the floor here. Again, very similar to what we were talking about, just their overall principles. They're sitting in heavy gap help. So you can gap off of Men Thompson. This is J.D. Davison, who shot it really well. But the Hawks are very much so concerned about protecting the paint against this Houston Rockets team, especially against offensive rebounds. So we get to a Jabari post up. Hawks are able to clean the glass, and then they're going the other way. And you see Nickeil's two-way ability. So he brings you all that value on defense, and he's also able to get you an early shot with a hook in transition. He also had this awesome pass that was unfortunately negated by Zach not being able to finish it. So you've got step up screen from KP, ball gets swung to Nickeil. And this is how, even though Keaton isn't able to drive this and create an advantage, because you have this nailed defense, this heavy nailed defense from JD Davison, this pass is now creates an advantage, right? Because now JD Davison has to get back in front of Nickeil. So good, simple read, but necessary read. And then now that pump fake gets JD Davison off balance, Nickeil can drive. Very good timing from Zach here. And when the ball, now if this ball is put into Zach's chest, maybe he's able to dunk it. But you see he has to load up because the ball is bounced. Usman Garuba makes a really good block. But here, I think this is really, honestly, pretty crazy recovery from Usman Garuba. Maybe this is a pump fake. Maybe he gathers earlier. Maybe there's other options here. He couldn't really finish on the reverse end, but important to see that Nickeil was able to generate that. Then we have this, Onyeka put a really good offensive game. He did unfortunately get dunked on by Jabari Smith Jr., but he did play really well offensively. So in a bit of a revenge game against Clint Capella. So Men ends up drilling this three. Hawks go the other way. I loved how quickly they were attacking. So the balls across half court with 3 seconds off the shot clock. Very, very important. So Dyson's going to drive it a little bit, penetrate just a little bit, see if he can get anything. And this is flowing offense. So Onyeka goes for a fake dribble handoff. When he does that, everyone relaxes a little bit, right? Like Tari stops being tense up. Clint Capella kind of takes his eye off the ball. They're expecting the handoff. And then Onyeka is just able to step through and get to a layup. There were some moments with Luke Kennard where his defense wasn't the best, but positionally, I think he's really solid. This is one of the better examples of some ways that he can still be impactful on defense. So the Rockets are going to get the ball driven here off of Capella's screen. And when this ball gets entered to Capella, he's gathering far from the basket. Hawks fans know this isn't a good thing, but look how aggressively that Luke Kennard comes to blow him up, right? So there's no option for him to throw it over the top to Jabari Smith Jr., even if he was capable of doing that. Ball has to be entered back out to Alperen Sengun. And so he completely, Luke Kennard pretty much completely killed that advantage. And Sengun, who was incredible and is probably poised to have an awesome season. They try to warn people during Eurobasket. He ends up making the shot anyway, but really good to see that. Hawks in general in transition, they were great. They were moving fast. They were getting out frequently. They were making good decisions. So, of course, when you have this amount of defensive playmaking from Dyson, guys like Nickeil, you're going to get these opportunities. Nice, strong take from Jalen Johnson. You can see his reputation precedes him, man. Like, no one really wants to challenge him, and that's how it should be. Here's one more example of that switchability between Dyson and Nickeil. So, yeah, he tells Nickeil to stay up top. I'll get the guy who cuts below. And then Alperen's going to drive this. Dyson was hunting a steal. He gets back out. He's able to close out aggressively because he knows that Jalen Johnson is on the baseline. And so when Tari goes baseline, he meets Jalen Johnson at his peak. And Onyeka was fine. He ended up, he kept playing after that. I just think he didn't know what happened. But yeah. So love seeing that. We didn't really have much of that until Mo Gay was put in the rotation. So, I mean, it really can't be understated how much Jalen means for this team. Luke is a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun. So here, early offense. There's 20 seconds on the shot clock. The Hawks are creating advantages. There's 2 feet in the paint with 6 seconds on the shot clock. Look at this awesome pass to the corner. Nickeil catches, drills it. Is this a no dip? Slight dip, very little. but knocks it down. Pace is going to be huge. This was a number of offensive sequences at once. So the Hawks ended up forcing the Rockets to a late shot clock inbound situation. Dyson gets the block on the 3. Then the Hawks are going to get out on the run. So actually, I think they call it shot clock. Yeah, they call it shot clock violation here. So they're going to take it out. They go back to a zone. As soon as Ime called the zone, you see Trey is like, hey, I'm just going to shoot this, man. This is well within my range. I'll take that. Try to break them out of the zone. Rockets come back. They're going to get a 3 of their own off of Reed Shepherd, who I think he had some moments, and I'm really excited to see what he looks like for Houston. So this is going to be a nice relocation 3 for him. He's just going to run to the corner off of Tari's drive. Movement 3, drills it. Now look, Hawks are moving quickly. 22 seconds on the shot clock. Nickeil gets it up to Trey, and then Nickeil takes this shot. 18 seconds on the shot clock. Back and forth, back and forth. Both teams, I think, shot above 60% in the first half. So good example of, how well they were shooting, but also a little bit about the quality of the defense. Really nice pass from Nickeil, from Şengün here. Now the Hawks are going back the other way. And guess when they get this shot off? Well, that pass is coming at 21 seconds. And if you can count, you got one Hawk here. You got one here behind half court. And there's 5 white Rockets jerseys. But where is Jalen Johnson? Well, he's somewhere over here. And yeah. So, boom. Alley-oop. And easy play for the Hawks. And again, they're going to be playing in transition a lot this year. It's going to be very important for them. I want to show you all one more set from the first half. So this is a good example of getting Trey off the ball. In general, I felt like, yes, he was orchestrating a lot, but he wasn't asked to do everything on offense, which is great. Here, they're going to get him off the ball a little bit to screen for Jalen Johnson on this cut or this dive back down this way. So, of course, most teams are going to want to keep a stronger player on a guy like Jalen Johnson. And they're not going to want to switch, in this instance, their center onto Jalen when he goes or onto Trey on this type of action. So they got to fight through it. Most centers can't navigate through screens, even if it's someone like Trey. So when he gets hung up, it freezes Amen Thompson here for a little bit. Then Trey's going to pop up above the key, force a longer closeout from Amen. And then he's just going to be able to drive that top foot. You see Amen's chest is facing this way. He's not square to Trey. And it's an easy blow by for Trey. And he's able to get to his spot. Again, collapse the defense and then kick it out to Onyeka. But this is also an easy. He might have been able to get a lob off. He could have definitely gotten the floater off, and he's able to generate an open 3 on this potential look, on this particular look. There are some. I do want to point out this particular quirk, and I don't even know if I would call it a quirk. It's just something that you kind of have to be aware with Trey, but because he does have a size deficiency against most guys, like there are just some passing that aren't available to him, right? So when he gets 2 people on the ball here in the corner, this is like one of the harder areas for him to throw a guy open. If he was able to step through this or, bounce it through here, maybe we have a better look for Jalen here. But because he catches it so much closer to the basket, the defense is able to meet him. If Jalen's able to catch the ball here, maybe he's able to do something a little bit more dynamic here. It turns into a short floater that he ends up missing. Luke in transition after, again, Dyson is going to take the ball from anyone, but I did think Amen had some handling issues that could be a little bit problematic for Houston this season. I love how quickly the Hawks get out and run. Again, it's just simple, simple passes, get guys open, and Luke Kennard is not going to miss an open 3. Let me go ahead and share a bit differently so you guys can see my annotations on the screen. Let's see. Yeah, this one. Let's see. Okay, cool. Now my third quarter ones aren't as organized, but there are some in general, I feel like last year we talked a lot about the Hawks playing small and how they didn't have size, and they don't have an excuse to not play size in the front court. But at the wing, there are times where Zach's style of play and what he's doing in that particular moment may make Nickeil a much better option. And some of that is just because he isn't quite yet comfortable with being physical, right? So, like I mentioned, some really good drives from Dyson tonight. He's going to attack Jabari Smith Jr. here off this. This again, you're making bigs trying to navigate screens. So this is looking like a setup for Onyeka to set the screen, but they're really just trying to create a slight advantage for Dyson to get downhill. He's going to attack, and here's Jabari's body. They're going to attack here. He's going to gather through that. And at that same time, Zach times this cut perfectly. Right now, Dyson's in no man's land. If Zach doesn't cut, it's probably a miss or a turnover. And while this is a really good cut from Zach, he just isn't instinctually going to attack the rim here. He's going to go for a floater, which he makes it this time. But I just want to see more guys getting to the rim. I want to see more guys putting pressure on the rim, getting to the free throw line. These shots are good, but these are 45, 50% shots. At the rim, it's 60 to 60 to 65 to 70. Then on the subsequent possession, Zachary Ricochet had a good chance to string together a really strong possession, right? So when Reed goes baseline, he reads his eyes perfectly. He splits the defense between these two guys, and he takes the ball away. At this point, the Hawks have an advantage, right? You've got to understand the numbers. You got to understand his positioning. What Zach gets wrong here is probably first off attacking the basket. And if you are going to attack the basket, you have to attack strong. Amen Thompson is bumping him. Amen is driving him off his line. If you're going to drive it, you got to win this physical battle. Here's the first bump from Amen. Knocks Zach off. And then when Zach has this ability to push him off his course, to gather here and go strong, he doesn't do it. He's just gathering. And if you're going to do this with two guys who are both very athletic, have good wingspans, are stronger than you, are more athletic than you, you can't just gather this weak. And that's unfortunately exactly what he does. Ball gets swiped down and probably goes off. It would have gone off of him if he wasn't able to get it back. So there are some times where it's just like, I really wish that Zach would be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more physical, use his length to his advantage. Here off the rebound, really good sequence from Dyson. He's going to attack Tari Eason here. Quick in and out with his left hand, and then the crossover at speed, catches Tari reaching, and then we're finishing at the cup with the right hand. He didn't have that move in his bag last year. So definitely a definitive step for him forward on offense. Again, I want to note how quickly the Hawks are getting the ball across half court. It's 21 seconds on the shot clock when Nickeil starts dribbling. Nickeil was functionally the Hawks' backup point guard in this game. Yes, Luke can handle. Yes, Dyson can handle. But Nickeil was typically the guy at the top of the key. And so I think that's probably where the Hawks will start. You'll likely see them try to mix in a little bit more Luke and Dyson initiating throughout the season, I would expect. We've already seen this clip here. Let's see if we have one more. Okay, there we go. Again, early shots. We love to see it, man. This is, I believe, off a rebound. You can see the Hawks don't even have 5 guys down the floor. Zach pulls the trigger early, knocks it down. Let's see what this play is. Oh, yeah, we did get some Veep minutes. They kind of did my guy Veep dirty. He had to play. Once Ricochet and Kennard came off the floor, it was basically like Veep and the third string guys. And, that's to be expected in preseason, but it's just like he's such a complimentary player that I know it's probably hard for him to just say, hey, I got to create everything for everyone and myself. I love this pass. He's so inventive. He's so creative. So you get the fake lob to get Steven Adams to load up, and then he's going to gather like he's going to go under, and then Dante gets away with the travel. But, hey, pass was nice, man. You got to give him some slack there. Yeah, I think I got a couple more. Asa played some minutes. Oh, yeah, I remember. I clipped this one because you're going to notice Aaron Holiday just decides he's going to blow up Asa Newell here. And, this is the type of thing. I'm not going to say it's a welcome to NBA moment, but it's more so like in college, like Asa could just rely on his quickness, his verticality to get offensive glass. In the NBA, while not boxing out is not this dying notion that many people think. Like it just kind of looks more so like this, where guys will make contact early and knock you off your spot. You see, Asa isn't thinking about Aaron Holiday at all. He has no idea he's about to get trucked, and he gets bumped off his spot a couple feet by a guard. You know, he'll learn. I thought that Asa's shot looked good though in the limited minutes, but they didn't get matched up in transition and ends up being a 3. I think we got one more from this quarter, and then some sparse fourth quarter clips. I thought in general the Hawks defense looked pretty connected. They were on a string. So here is pretty seamless switch. They're going to get Asa Newell on the Aaron Holiday. Again, you see how Mohamed Gay is sitting here in gap help. You can see how quickly everyone's going to rotate back out to their man on this side of the floor. Once the ball is swung, okay, they're back in position. They're in that 5 shell. Look at Mohamed Gay move his feet, cut off that drive. He's active, ready, hands are ready. Here comes a screen. Mohamed Gay is ready to suppress anything that comes close to him. Then boom, back out to Josh Okogie. There's Mohamed Gay again. And he jumps a little bit. And at that point, when he opens up, he loses the containment just a little bit. I don't think this is a foul, but he should have been able to contain that drive easily. He just opened up. He got a little eager, wanted to contest the shot, maybe thought there's a little bit less time on the shot clock than there actually was. And it ends up opening up the drive. And you can't do that when you're only semblance of a rim protector on the floor as Asa Newell. And, Caleb Houston is pressed up on Jalen Green here, so he can't help on the job either. So, in general, I feel like the process, a guy like Mohamed Gay, some guys' defense look really good. Caleb Houston, I think, is borderline unplayable. I don't think that we shouldn't – I think that if we're going to sign someone, I think I would probably give someone like Johnny Juzang a look before I would give Caleb Houston a look. And that's – no shade to him. I just think that the Hawks can't really afford to play someone who isn't giving us much defensively and is very one-dimensional on offense. There was definitely a big difference when it was Jacob Toppin or even Nickeil in. I like that they gave Asa the opportunity to do something with the ball in his hands. You can see some of the handling issues against, NBA-level athletes, older guys. Kevon Harris just kind of takes it away from him. This is what I mentioned, though. Like, it was just kind of like, hey, Veek, can you do something for us with these guys on the floor? And I don't think it's the best or most fair evaluation of someone like Caleb Houston. Like, he isn't the type of guy that's comfortable in these situations. Like, he needs to be playing off of other guys who can create for him. I just don't think we can, or not we, I don't think the Hawks can tolerate the lack of defense from someone like that. We'll get some defensive reps here. So N'Faly Dante had 10 rebounds in about 10, 12 minutes. He's very active on the glass, did his work early. I think that he's pretty fine as a depth big. Like, I think I would prefer him over Bassey. You can see some of his mobility here, though. Like, he can't really get around this Aaron Holiday screen. He just kind of crashes into him. Jacob Toppin, pretty quiet 12 minutes, I felt like. The Hawks, again, like to my point, like they were just kind of like passing a lot and like not really generating stuff with these guys on the floor. And again, it's what happens, when you have guys who are not exactly your rotation players. He didn't end up hitting a 3. I think he went 1 for 6. Again, I don't think it's the best evaluation of his particular game, but so I don't think he's like a non-NBA player. I just think it's tougher for a team like the Hawks that we really need stability at that small forward spot, especially because that can be so variable. And right now, it's definitely our weakest position. Like, there's really no questions asked. Like, the front court rotation is really solid. The guard rotation is really solid, of course. And then you look at the wing, and it's just a lot of question marks. Like, can Nickeil give us anything? Can Jacob Toppin give us anything? I like this idea here from Kean. I'm not really sure whether this is a bad pass or not. Nah, it's pretty bad. And it was pretty hot. So I don't think Asa really had much of a chance here. But I like the idea. Definitely like the idea. There's a couple of things. I like so during media day, I think Nickeil was saying, "Oh, this is the Asa 3." His shot form looks nice. Definitely looks nice. I don't know if it's just because he's lefty, but it looks smooth. He shot that under a contest. Although it was JD Davis, it was a little bit slow, but it doesn't look smooth. The Nickeil checks in around the 740 mark. I really wish he would have played. I think he should be ahead of Caleb Houston. I just think right now they're trying to evaluate whether Caleb Houston is worth giving a contract or not. They already, of course, have Nickeil on the contract, and they have extensive film of him in the Skyhawks, whatever it may be. Now, remember I mentioned that the Hawks are going to be helping heavily off the gaps here, so this is really well-timed hype from Nickeil, or help from Nickeil. So as soon as Jeff Green turns his back, you're going to see Nickeil come and overplay his hand. So Jeff Green turns his back. There's Nickeil to double. The Hawks collapse everywhere. They force Jeff Green to try and make a pass in the air. King Wallace is able to take it away. Mo Gay was in position to defend the rim, and now the Hawks have forced turnover. So even with the third, fourth string guys on the floor, they're still executing defensive principles. They look pretty connected. It's good. It's good to see that. Now, of course, the Rockets did shoot it extremely well in that first quarter and that second half, or that first half, and I don't think they were. I think there's a difference between like being super effective on defense and being in the right position. And I think mostly the Hawks were executing their scheme relatively well. Nickeil said during media day his favorite shot's a pull-up too. And so I was waiting for him to get to one. And he's just going to walk down JD Davison and get to a spot or elevate at 6'8", knock it down. You have to be really good in today's NBA to take those shots regularly, but at least it looks nice when Nickeil does it. Hope you all enjoyed the film breakdown. There is a fan fest Thursday, and then I think the Hawks play. I can't remember who we play next, but I'll definitely will be in the building for the game against the Rockets on the 16th. Hope you all are excited for Hawks basketball. Even though I started us off saying I'm going to look at it more as an analyst, I'm still, of course, a fan. I always will be a fan of the Hawks. I just want to be as objective as possible to make sure that I come up as I know what I'm talking about. I'm also not discrediting my own analysis. You feel me? So I hope you all enjoyed this breakdown. Hope it was informative. Overall takeaways, I think Jalen's physicality looked really nice. There's still some moments where he shied away from contact, including when he went at Reed, when he caught it in the short roll against Clint. I am a little bit concerned about the stability of the three position in general. Zach has had games like these as a rookie, but we really need him to consistently use his length and his size. And we're understanding he's 6'10". He may not have a +5 wingspan, +6 wingspan, but it's still 6'11", right? And he needs to be more aggressive on the glass. He needs to embrace physicality. He didn't put on this weight or add this muscle to not use it. You know what I mean? I thought that they were inventive with the sets to at least use the indication or the suggestion that he would shoot off the move, but it didn't feel like they were running him off screens to get him open, if that makes sense. It's more so, hey, this is the decoy for our actual action. And so I wonder how effective that will be against teams when they realize, hey, he's not really shooting it on these looks. He's not even really getting the ball when they curl it. So we'll see what that looks like. I thought KP was very willing to shoot, understandably so. I didn't feel bad about any of the shots he took, though. He took some trailing threes. He took some post looks. He, of course, had that dive on that clip we showed. Thought Onyeka's offense looked pretty good. He did engage with Steven Adams on the defensive glass a couple times that I thought were pretty strong. Dyson's handle definitely has improved. He looks more confident as an offensive player, 100%. I think Trey was, very hands-off tonight. We'll see how much they rely on him in an actual game, but I feel like they kind of deprioritized smartly, like to not run him down or be overly reliant on his creation. When I think about the potential rotation guys who may make the roster, like N'Faly Dante, Charles Bassey, Caleb Houston, those guys, I think that my pick would be Dante at this point. See if there's anything else. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, also the Hawks would definitely play fast. We'll see I wanted to see if they would play through the bigs a little bit more, quite honestly. They didn't really run a lot of delay stuff or, a lot of dribble handles at the top of the key. They mixed it in for sure, but I think they could ramp it up even more. So excited to see what Quinn pulls out in the next preseason game. Hope you all have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.